Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Xony, and today we're going to have some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go. Now let's get into today's stories to find out what happened. Wife 36 and I 40 had been together for 12 years. It was a long relationship that started when she was pretty young, and we watched each other grow. I thought she was becoming a beautiful and smart woman, but I was wrong. She was becoming the perfect con artist that had a foolish husband who trusted her blindly. She went to work every day, and I never questioned her faithfulness. She started doing her hair really well, but that was the only change I noticed before her sister called me. She said felt really bad for betraying her sister's trust, but she couldn't just stand by while I was cheated on. My heart stopped and I fell to the floor. I wasn't trying to be so dramatic. I really lost control of myself. I asked how she knew, and she said my wife told her she was conflicted about starting her steamy relationship with the delivery guy she saw every day. She was in charge of meeting him in the receiving office to sign for packages on behalf of the business, and they took the chance to lock the door and have some fun with each other. I muted the phone to throw up in the kitchen sink. I was so glad she was telling me, but part of me hoped it was a bad dream. What's even crazier is that my wife had his phone number programmed in her phone as Lisa. I thanked her for telling me. She was glad she could help me because even though it was her sister, it was extremely wrong, and she didn't deserve to stay happily married and share my home. So that night I guessed my wife's passcode and read her messages with Lisa. It was bad, but if her sister didn't tell on her, I wouldn't know there was intimate for sure. I had to get a confession, so I called him. He answered groggily and didn't say a word while I explained who I was. I begged him not to hang up and insisted I was calling man to man because I needed to tell him something important. I said even though I couldn't prove it, I had suspicion that he was sleeping with my wife while they were each working. He said no several times. I said that was fine, but it was better safe than sorry that I shared the information I had with him. I told him my wife was HIV positive and I recently found that I was too. He was quiet for a few seconds, but while I said he should get checked out, he started losing his mind. He started repeatedly saying, "Oh my God." It was all he could say, and his voice started to crack. I asked if he used protection with my wife, and he said he did. That was the confession I needed. I apologized to him while he freaked out. He was crying before I finally told him I was just kidding. I just had to get him to confess to the affair. Then I hung up and picked up the mattress to roll my wife off of it. She woke up mad and confused. She asked what the hell was happening, and I told her she had to get out. Obviously, it was not easy for me to get her out of the house. Even after I played the recorded admission from AP, she was stubborn and said she lived in the house. I told her she only lived here while I accepted her as my wife, and she was not that to me anymore. She was very dramatic and called the police. They mostly operated as mediators and couldn't really say who should be the one to leave, since we were both residents of the home. But one of the cops did ask her if she could stay with AP. I love that he threw that option out there, because when she called AP, he told her he couldn't see her again. Being told he had HIV terrified him, and he didn't want to have intimate with anyone for a while, especially not her. I laughed. It was awesome. She told the cops she couldn't stay with him, and out of pity, I volunteered to stay at my uncle's house until the divorce was final. It gave her time to pack without being able to talk to me and make arrangements for where she was going to live. She hated her sister because she assumed I must have been tipped off to check her messages. Too bad her sister was the only one there for her when she needed a place to stay. They were smushed together, and my sister-in-law handled it with grace and generosity. She wasn't bitter towards her sister. She only wanted to support her to get her back on her feet while she got her way of thinking straightened out. I was starting to think I married the wrong sister. My ex was eventually out of both of our lives, and I got my house back. I may or may not have connected with her sister for fun and to talk about updates in our lives. I'm relieved that this word deal is over. but it will take me longer to cope with how much time I spent with her only for her to cheat on me with a stranger. I'm glad we never had children together. Now let's get into today's second story. My wife and I were both on Instagram, and while I always posted pictures of both of us, she would post a lot of selfies. It was about her, not us. I didn't appreciate it, but I refused to be a controlling spouse. She was her own person, and I trusted her. Sometimes she came home from work late, but I still never thought of her as someone that could cheat. She kept me up to date with what she was working on, and even sent me selfies of her at work. I didn't know that those pictures were taken at a different time and sent when she needed me to believe her lies. We were married for 6 years before I discovered she was cheating. My wife, 31, was working late, so it killed some time. I, 32, got on Instagram. I started looking at her selfies and found one person that kept commenting and being really sweet to her. I clicked on his profile and was shocked to find pictures of him with my wife, super dressed up and flashy. She was now wearing her usual work attire. There was a picture from tonight that said happy 3 months. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She was out right now with this loser. In the photo, she looked really uneasy, like she didn't want him to take a picture for some reason. Maybe she had a feeling I was going to see it tonight, while I waited for her to come home. He looked fine, like he had no idea she was having a problem. My hands were shaking. So they were together for 3 months, and he was a police officer, according to the other pictures he posted. Even crazier to me was seeing her in a picture with his kids. She met his kids. She told me she never wanted to have kids, but she was willing to meet his kids. This was blowing me away, and I was honestly scared. I felt like I had most definitely lost her, and didn't even know who she really was. I called her. She actually answered, trying to act like everything was normal, and she was leaving work, heading to her car. I told her not to play with my heart like that, and just tell me the truth. I heard her suck for air like she was punched in the gut. She was slapped back into reality from my accusation. She asked me what I meant, but she could barely speak. I told her I just saw a picture on Instagram and wanted to wish her a happy 3-month anniversary. I said it was good. She got a head start in starting a new relationship, because our 6-year marriage was over. A huge fight ensued when she got home. I was surprised she had the nerve to fight with me, but whether or not she deserved to be forgiven. After being caught in a 3-month intimate relationship with AP, she thought she could argue to persuade me that she deserved forgiveness. AP arrived behind her, having followed her home. He demanded to know what she was doing and who I was. I told him I was her husband of 6 years, and he was her AP. She was trying to get him to leave with her, but he wouldn't have it. He asked her if I was her husband, and she said not anymore. He pulled away from her and asked if she was cheating on him with me. She said no, she was cheating on me with him. He was confused and mad, and told her she was cut out of his life, and he didn't want to hear from her again. I told her the same thing, and thanked the guy for dumping her with me, because a cheater like her shouldn't have a home with a man after sleeping around as she did. She said she was sorry, but she couldn't help that she had feelings for both of us. The more she opened her mouth, the more she sounded like a stupid girl who didn't understand what a serious relationship meant. I couldn't believe she didn't cheat on me sooner. I locked her out, and when she couldn't make me let her in, she went to stay with AP. But he was a wise man and refused to let her in his house. I'm pretty sure she went to stay with a relative she wasn't very fond of, because she showed up to her court hearing looking miserable. She was ghosted by the men she hurt, and her living situation made it hard to have a dating life.